Alright guys, let's go to the next video. In this video, we are going to do a quick overview of your OpenShift console one more time, but in this time, we are going to look at some of the options we have on this console. So firstly, to start with, the OpenShift web console is for both administrator and developer, and we don't have a classification over here for administrator or developer. But then, based on the access a person has, they will be able to see different action items. Later point of time, we will be creating users and we will be impersonating the users with their viewpoint. So that time we will be creating multiple different users and we will like see their viewpoint on things. Okay. So to go with, we have this web console layout where you have this primary navigation through this sidebar. The sidebar is very important for you because that's where you get to navigate to through a lot of things. Like for example, in home you have overview, which is the screen you are in, where it tells you a quick information about the version of cluster. It gives you a quick information on your API address and then your status of your services and any warnings which is happening on your system, your CPU utilization, memory utilization, file system utilization, network file transfers, and all those pod counts. It gives you that. And in the cluster inventory, you get number of nodes, number of pods, number of storage classes, and if there's any persistent volume claim you have over there. So it gives you a quick overview of your complete infrastructure. Now, next important thing is projects over here. So this is where all the projects which you have out there is coming in. Now, projects is just a term in OpenShift, which is nothing but namespace. So if you see the namespace concept on, or you understand, I've explained to you what is namespace earlier. So if you understand namespace, what it is, then it is called projects. Now in search, you can search for any kind of a resource over here. And then in API Explorer, you can actually see all the APIs which you have. These are the stuff which we will be calling. Then you give OC get pods. That pods is an API. So that pod is over here. So basically it's an API and that's why you are able to call that API. When you click on the pod API, you can actually understand some description about it and what are the verbs you can use. So you can see create, delete collection, blah, 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 in terms of options which can be used with the pod. And the short name is PO, so which means that you can either use pod or PO, just like we have the CO for compute operators, right? So the similar thing. In schema, you can see some version related details and what schemas it uses. And instance, you can see the number of pods on the whole it's running. So all those pods will be displayed over here on the instance. And access review can see who can actually access with which permissions has given permission. So you can see that 42 service account has this, two groups has this, and one user has this, which is the admin user. That's the user. So this is the access review. You can clearly see. And next is the events. So the events talks about all the event which is happening in your system, in your cluster. Whatever the highlighted one is all like warning. There's some kind of a exception over here which you may need to address. Red color ones which you don't find here basically tells you an error. So which you may need to address at the earliest. Now favorites are basically bookmarking certain services which you use frequently. Ecosystem talks about the software catalog and installing operators, and then Helm. We will talk about Helm little later. Software catalog is basically where you download a shared application, service, or source to an image, likewise. And then a cluster administrator can customize and make available of any of the software. So you can have databases which can be integrated, the MariaDB, MySQL services, PostgreSQL services are also here. Likewise, you have logging and tracing. So you have different types of Loki and Red build for OpenTelemetric. So likewise, you have so many logging methods like DDoG and stuff like that. So it gives you the complete set of things which you can import and make it part of your running softwares. And then here you can also install operators. The operators are this is basically a operator hub where basically Kubernetes communities, Red Hat partners, curated by Red Hat. You have this software through Red Hat Marketplace always be done, but it's all like no operators for the project default, so there is no operator. So you can also select all projects as an option over here, and you can see that the package service is one of the operator which is installed. Now, how do we install an operator? Go back to the software catalog, search for a software, and then that gets installed over here in the operator. We will come back to that. There is a special session on downloading specific operator and having them installed. So we will come back to that. Helm is a service manager, so we will talk about that later. So you can create Helm charts, which is basically a way of working with your Kubernetes. So we'll come back to that. Workload is very important for us because workload has everything which is needed for us to run uh, any activity on OpenShift. You have topology, which gives you like a way of creating a project or stuff like that, like a complete end-to-end operation. You have pods where you select the pod and you run a specific image on it, and you can see that you can selected all projects, so you can show that all the projects which you don't have, so you can see the all the default projects as well, and then you can select a specific project, and then you can see the pods running for that. So there's a OAuth one authentication. Remember OAuth? So that's authentication URL. So we went there. So deployments are basically another way of deploying pods, but then with specific configurations. And then we have the secrets, config maps, jobs, and stuff like that. So these are some of the concepts in Kubernetes as well. So you'll get that. And networking has all the service routes, ingress configured. And then you have the storage, which has the persistent volume claims, and other snapshots and stuff like that. And then you have the build over here with the build config, build, and image stream. So this is basically that. And then observe has the alerting metrics, dashboards, and stuff like that, where you can actually look at you know your you're more of checking your CPU memory utilization, more of observability, which you can make from it. So you can see how many different charts are coming up. So it's by default using your Prometheus and Grafana. So there's an inbuilt service for that running. So that's basically generating all the charts and stuff. And targets are basically you set a target for your metrics, and then you just work with that. And compute, on the other hand, it's more of a management side of things. So workload is basically for your application, compute is basically for your system. So you have node machines, machine autoscaler, health checks, and then you have the control plane machine sets, and then machine config over here, and then machine pools. So these are different ways of managing your nodes, creating more. As I told you, we can increase or decrease the scale of the number of nodes, right? So that can be done through machines and machine sets. Now, user management goes with users, groups, service accounts, roles, and role bindings. We have a separate session to explain you what are these and how we can use some of the items. So we'll look at that. And in terms of administration, you have the cluster settings where you can upgrade, downgrade versions of cluster using this, namespaces, like the total number of namespaces you have, and how much memory and CPU based on the namespace. You can do it command line as well, which is, I'm just showing you like which actual namespace is actually making, using more memory, which one is actually using more CPU utilization. Like you can see Kube API service using more CPU, monitoring using more memory, likewise. And then resource quota, so you can set a quota on your resources, and limit ranges, you can set a limit on your range. And then you have custom resource definition, the CRD ones, and you have the dynamic plugins. We will explain one by one when the time is right, but I'm just giving you a quick introduction or a tour of your console in detail than the one which we did before. So the notification sends you alerts, recommendations, critical alerts, anything. So as of now, we have this other alerts, which is basically a warning mechanism. So that's pretty much it. All right, guys. So this is done. All we are all set with this. So what we're gonna do is like we're gonna go to the next item. We are going to look at past this, and we will be creating some projects. We'll be creating some applications. We'll be downloading some applications. We're gonna do it one by one. Thank you so much for watching with patience. I'll see you on the next video.